Right, team, welcome back to the Last Day podcast. I hope everyone is having a good start to their week as always. Right, guys, YouTube uh, viewers, we are back with another episode as well. So, for those of you again listening on the podcast, I definitely would recommend going on to YouTube and getting some of the visuals here, as I've been saying each week. Guys, I know this has been a little bit like um what's the best way to put it, casual, right? I haven't been doing any fancy editing with YouTube or whatever. I wanted to make this as simple as possible because I just wanted to document the journey without it becoming a bit of a hassle for me to try to put it together, because I just wouldn't have been able to do it with the time constraints and stuff. So with today's episode, I'm going to give you an update on week 2, well, going into week 3 now, of the diet, how it's went, and some of the things that have come up on week 2 with that as well. So I'm going to go through, as always, a weekly update in terms of my weight, my progress picture. So I took progress picture for the first time in week 2, and just some of my other stats, such as my steps, my exercise, calories, and stuff like that as well. The biggest thing that actually came up this week was the weekend and how I kind of managed that, as well as eating out once this week. So I'm going to be talking through today how you can kind of fit that in, but at the same time, how you need to be careful that it doesn't become a regular thing, especially if you're trying to push for some quicker progress in a shorter time frame as well. Okay, so I'm going to go through all that. Like I said, if you're listening on the podcast, you get the gist of it, but definitely would recommend having a look on YouTube if you want to look through all the kind of stats and some of the stuff I'm going to be showing you as well on this. Right, so guys, let's get stuck straight into my weekly stats and just a kind of an update on where I currently am at with this. So you can see here, guys, for the second week, in terms of weight averages, we're down to 74.4. That is down a kg, just over a kg from week 1, right? So that's an average of 2.5 pounds roughly from week to week, okay? The calorie average for the week was around 2,300, just over 2,300. Now, that was in big part because of the fact that I had a 4,000 calorie day, which was the day that I went out for the Halloween party drinking. And I'm going to go into that in a bit more detail later in the video, just because I want to just break down why it was so high and some of the things that I did throughout the week then to kind of negate that a little bit as well. You can see my protein for the days I tracked was relatively high, around 150 on average or above, which is pretty much where I want to be, pretty much the same as last week without intentionally trying to get there. I'm happy enough with that. And then my step count for the week was roughly the same as last week, about 15,500 steps. But that is, again, including soccer training and game. Okay, so keep that in mind, right? So if you're not doing like any exercise or sport, like, it's going to be different for you, right? If I didn't have the soccer, it would be probably closer to 12,000, 11,000. Okay, so that's where I would be naturally. And as I said last week, you don't need to be up the numbers I'm up at. It helps me because it just means that I have a small bit more of a buffer in terms of calorie expenditure. But at the same time, it has to be realistic, because if you can't keep it up, it's not going to be a long-term thing. Okay, so just something to keep in mind there. Now, a couple of things just on the week, right? So I actually had a training deload week, which basically was I had a light week in the gym, because I had been, before the diet started, I'd been pushing it a good bit in the gym. So I've been pushing for like 6 or 7 weeks. So I was actually starting to feel a few kind of aches. I had planned to do this anyway, but it kind of came at a good time because I was getting a few aches and pains in the gym in terms of my joints and stuff. So that's a good indicator for me that it's time to deload. A deload for me basically is just going into the gym less. So I went into the gym twice last week and 1 rehab session. So it was 3 times altogether. But I also just took them sessions as kind of light sessions. So I was in there for maybe, I don't know, 30, 35 minutes, just going through the kind of motions with it, doing less volume altogether, and just kind of keeping fresh, but at the same time, not pushing it to the point where I was actually overloading. So what that's going to allow me now, guys, going into this week, is that I can actually start to ramp it up again, feeling fresher. And I should be feeling, even from just this week going on, I should be able to feel that I'll be getting a good stimulus from even less volume again. So that's how I kind of work my training. I'll build it up with volume, and I'll push it up to the point where I can't push anymore. I'll deload, take a recovery week, and then I'll do that cycle over again. Okay, so it's perfect because it's going to basically take me 6 weeks now into the end of this diet as well. So I'm going to be happy enough with that. So that's how the training went. And that's basically everything. I had 1 soccer training session, and I had 1 game on Friday night as well, which I played 90 minutes. Just a couple of kind of notes from the week as well. So I had a dinner out. So we went to a sushi restaurant on Thursday night. So I had chicken teriyaki and I had some rice with that, but nothing too major, and a couple of pieces of sushi. I estimated that to be around 800 calories. Again, I have no idea if it was exactly accurate, but I like to kind of overestimate a little bit. So I kind of ate a little bit less and I picked better options, but I also kind of overestimated a small bit so I could balance it out. Especially easier to do that at the start of a diet. As the diet goes on, it's a bit harder to do that because you are genuinely hungry. So you don't want to be like, I suppose, like under eating and over guessing because you may be just hungry and it goes into the next day and that can feed on. So you got to be careful a little bit with that as well. Okay. For the game then I played 90 minutes, like I said. I actually played well, but I felt it. This is the first week, and I know we're into week 2, but I know I'm in an aggressive deficit because I can see that with the weight loss and I know my numbers as well. So I did feel it near the end of the game. I wasn't as fresh as it was last week. Last week I could have kept running and running and running. This week I felt by probably 80th minute I was struggling a bit fatigue wise, and then I started cramping near the end as well. So that was a really good sign. If you're cramping, it's either because you're underfueled or you're not fit enough. I know I'm fit enough because I've been fit enough all year. So I'm underfueled. Basically, I just didn't have enough fuel in the body to do what I wanted to do. Okay, so that was obviously tough, and I'm going to have to keep an eye on that for the next couple of weeks going forward. Next week, what I didn't do this week or last week that I wish I did do was fueled the day before the game as opposed to the day of the game, because the game was on Friday night. I kind of just used all Friday to eat a lot of calories, which is why I was up to 4,000 calories. But the day before, I just kept it normal. You can see it was 2,100 calories, which it didn't help. And I woke up on Friday morning with a low weight. When I wake up at a low weight, I know that I didn't eat enough carbohydrates the day before. Because if you eat lots of carbs, what would happen is you would actually like gain weight, not body fat. Keep that in mind, weight being water weight mostly, because carbohydrates come with water, which is why when people go on a low carb diet over the first week or two, they'll lose loads of weight on the scales because they're just losing water, right? Because with carbs, you get a lot of water. So carbs aren't the devil. In fact, carbs are really important for fueling performance, which is why it's important to do that before a soccer game. But obviously, because I hit a low weight on Friday morning, even though I went to Tom Sushi the night before, that was a good sign that I was actually in a big enough deficit still, and I was under fueled, which is why I suppose I wasn't feeling the best on Friday night for the game near the end of it. So I'm going to see how we go this week. I'm going to have to kind of definitely balance out a little bit, but it's just going to be trial and error for now. You can see I got 25,000 steps on that day, but that was mainly because I roughly estimate the steps in a match to be about 10,000 because I have no watch on for that. And then I had 15,000 up to that before that. So that's where I am at. And for the night out, I basically went out and I had roughly around 4 to 5 drinks. So I calculated that as roughly as I could. We were home very late. I wasn't in bed until like 4 a.m. So that obviously impacted sleep a little bit. I was up at 8 a.m. for the Arsenal game. So sleep wasn't the best on Friday night, but I had the weekend to kind of catch up on that. So that's it, guys. That's an update on the week. I think that's everything I wanted. I'm going to go into the calories and stuff in a second in terms of the 4,000 calories and the averages and stuff. But just to kind of an overview of the week, you can see today my weight's actually hiked up a bit. And if we're to go into the body weight tracker for the week, you can see that we have basically a big hike up today. Now, this is going to go down. This is only 1 day reading, you can see here. But the trend again is still on the way down. Okay, so we're all good, no big deal. And I'm going to be talking about that a little bit later on in the video in terms of weight versus fat, because people get very, very confused when it comes to weight loss versus fat loss. But we don't care about weight loss, we care about fat loss. And that's where a lot of people actually get very, very caught up in when they don't need to. Okay, so let's just get stuck into the weekend, guys. Now, actually, sorry, before I go into that, I'm going to just give you an update of my progress. So I took progress pictures this week as well for the first time. So every 2 weeks, I'm going to take them. So this is where I'm at. I was actually very, very happy with these, to be honest. I didn't expect to see such difference in 2 weeks. But at the same time, I did push it a good bit for the last 2 weeks. So some people might even notice this, but I can definitely notice a big difference. So you can see, especially around the ab area, I've definitely more defined abs already starting to come in. Shoulders is a big one for me as well. I always kind of know it with the shoulder shape. You can see there's more shape on these pictures compared to them pictures. Even my chest and my lower kind of abdomen, I can see like the proportions, like in terms of my chest here compared to my lower abs and my chest here compared to my lower abs. I can see the kind of the lean is coming through already. That's only 2 weeks. So I'm very excited like that. I'm going to compound this for the next 6 weeks. So I get to do that over and over and over again. And the thing with pictures, guys, and I mentioned this on my story today, people get very, very annoyed when they like look at progress, like, oh, I should be faster, my weight isn't going fast enough, or pictures aren't looking good enough, or I don't feel good enough. We have skewed expectations of what we should be seeing. And there is a big compounding effect, especially when it comes to pictures. Like these pictures to me are actually looking pretty good. And I don't usually see this in 2 weeks, but like even in a month, sometimes you wouldn't see a huge difference depending on how quick you're going. But I guarantee you, with this compounding effect now over the next 6 weeks, it's going to look pretty drastic. And you mightn't see it from picture to picture, but when you look at the first pictures and then compare them eventually to the last pictures, if you're doing it consistently, it's going to be night and day. So just trust in what you're doing, right? If you're progressing and all the signs that you're progressing, just keep trusting and keep going, because you will find eventually a lot of people have problem areas, if you want to call them that where you're always constantly looking at one area of your body. Unfortunately for us, we can't dictate where the fat comes off unless we do surgery, right? So we have to trust that it's eventually going to come off in the problem areas. Now, a lot of the times it comes off in them areas last because they're kind of more stubborn areas, you're going to call that. They're not stubborn because they hold on to fat. They're stubborn because they're the last area to go. And we have to keep pushing to get there. Okay, it's not that they're actually like we have to do anything different. It's just we have to do it longer. So lower abdomen for guys mainly. You get that for stomach area for women as well. Thighs for women, I feel like as well. Love handles for a lot of people as well. So they'll all come off near the end fully. Okay, so if you have a problem area, I've called that, and that's the only area you're looking at, you have to understand that your weight's coming off all over. So your weight's coming off your face, it's coming off your legs, it's coming off your arms, it's coming off your chest, your back, upper back, lower back, abs, chest area as well. So like, it comes off everywhere. So just keep that in mind whenever you're kind of looking at progress pictures. But yeah, pretty happy. Week 2, I'm looking forward to seeing the next ones now. And it's kind of motivating me as well. It's like, oh, cool. The next 2 weeks now, I'm going to get to see even more progress. And it's going to be kind of cool to see the kind of changes as we go. And I'm looking forward to documenting them as well. Right. So what I want to get into now, guys, is the kind of weekend and the thing people kind of get caught up on. I did a session with my group today, and I was talking about data and tracking and how we get very, very caught up on one day reading. And I know I talked about this a little bit last week in terms of calorie averages, and calories are always going to be king when it comes to that. Okay, but so often we think, okay, I had a 4,000 calorie day, and you think 4,000 calories, oh, that's an awful lot. But when you look at my average, it was only 2,300 over the whole week. So I compensated a little bit with other days, and it allowed me to have that 4,000 calorie day. Now, ideally, I wouldn't be having 4,000 calorie days too often, especially as I go deeper into this diet. But it was just a case that I wanted to fuel well for the match. So before I even left for the match, I had like 2,700 calories, which was like a maintenance for me roughly. But then obviously throw on top of that, then after I wanted to refuel because I was depleted after the match, plus the fact that I had alcohol and had some kind of snacky bits when I came home from the night out, it was always going to be a higher calorie day. Is that 4,000 calories very accurate? I have no idea. Is it pretty close? Yeah, probably all right. Now, with weekends and stuff, what I do see with a lot of people is that because they're out and they're kind of like, oh, I'm off my diet, I'm off track, I'm just going to not even think about it. If you're someone who genuinely wants to progress and you want to learn, you do need to go periods of thinking about it. I'm not saying you have to think about it for the rest of your life. Okay, I go through plenty of nights out, and I have over the last year where I haven't thought about a calorie. I haven't thought about weight loss. I haven't thought about any of that stuff. But if you want to progress and learn and actually get the results, you have to go through periods of doing it. There's no two ways about it. Otherwise, you're not going to learn, and you're just going to keep making the same mistakes over and over. So that 4,000 calories, even though it probably wasn't perfect, it definitely wasn't perfect. It's pretty close, right? And even at that 4,000 calories, like I only had 4 or 5 drinks because I was very conscious of that. I wasn't drunk at all. I was pretty confident in terms of the food I was eating, and even anything I kind of picked at was only little small things. So I'm pretty confident that 4,000 calories is in and around it. Whereas on a normal night out, I might not think about how many drinks I had, and I might think about all the things I picked at throughout the day because I was going out. And it just happens to me as well. So I'm not judging anyone for this. But then at the end of the day, I'll be like, oh yeah, I probably had about 4,000 calories. But chances are, if you aren't actually conscious of it, you could easily be at 5,000 calories, 6,000 calories. And that's a lot of calories when you think about trying to stay in a deficit for a week, especially if you're a female. Like think about it, like one drink can be 200 calories. Like a pint of Guinness is 210 calories. A shot probably is 100 and something calories just for a shot. A baby Guinness, you're probably talking about 150 calories or something. So like it's mad how quickly the calories from alcohol can add up. And then you put on top of that your food that you've eaten before you went out, on top of the food that you probably eat when you come home, if you're picking at stuff, even if you don't get a takeaway, you might be picking at stuff. Just we all get it. We all get the cravings. We all get the munchies. We all, if we're a bit tipsy, we're making worse decisions. And that's not even taking into account if you had dinner and drinks. So you can see how easily the calories add up. So if you want to make good progress, you have to be very conscious, and you have to. I'm not saying you have to be, like a hermit, but I'm saying you have to be conscious and not let it happen too often. If you're constantly going out for drinks and constantly eating out every week and you're trying to make good progress, you're losing. You're fighting a losing battle, especially if you're not good at this, because you have to learn first of all to give yourself a chance, see some progress, and you can obviously learn how to do that as well. That's what we teach our clients. It's about how we can make choices, better choices, but at the same time not give up everything. And I never make any clients give up anything, because they need to learn, but they have to learn while making some sacrifices. Because if you don't make any sacrifices, you're just putting yourself in a situation that's nearly impossible. You can progress, but it's making it so hard for yourself that chances of you doing it are very slim, and it's just making it so much harder than it needs to be. So that's that, right? Now, with the weight as well, what you'll see is we had a bit of a weight hike this morning. We had a bit of, I think I actually had a really low weight at Saturday, but I didn't take it because I knew I was so dehydrated and I was home late and everything. So it was just going to be a false weight. But these weights around here also may be false weights. And this is a crucial point for a lot of people to know. Our weight loss and our fat loss are not the same. So you might look at this and say, right, on the start of the week, Mike, you were 74.6. And on Sunday, you were 74.5. And this Monday, you're 74.8. So you mustn't have lost anything over the week because the numbers have gone up a bit. No, false, right? I know my numbers, and it's so important you get to know your numbers as well if you want to do this right. I'm probably maintaining on around 28 to 2,900 calories, maybe even 3,000, depending. It's hard to know because I'm doing so much at the moment, but I probably could be close to 3,000. And I'm tracking pretty accurately, so I know the calorie intake is on point. So if we take this number to be correct at 2,300 average for the week, even with that 4,000 calorie day, then let's just say, even if I'm conservative and I say I'm 2,800 calories, I'm still roughly at a 500 calorie deficit per day on this week. Now, there is 1 pound of body fat will be lost when you're in a 3,500 calorie deficit. So 3,500 calorie deficit, that means that's 500 calories a day multiplied by 7 days in a week. It's 3,500. So that's to lose 1 pound of body fat. Okay, not weight, fat. Remember that. So I can be pretty confident at the very, very least, even if I'm conservative, for the last week, I've lost 1 pound of body fat. Okay, even though the weight in the scales hasn't changed at all over the week. And this is where we have to be careful, because when you're eating out and when you have like meals out and stuff like that, and then there's times when you're drinking, you're in bed late and you're up different times, your weight, there's a lot of noise around the weight. I always compare this to like the stock market, right? There's a lot of noise around the stock market in the short term. And if you're constantly reacting to that and your investments, you're taking money out. Oh no, it's gone down. I take my money out, or something's gone up. I put my money in. You're not going to make any money, but you're also going to wreck your own head. Okay, so you always have to look at the trends with everything. So with the weight, again, we've only 2 weeks, so we don't even have any trends yet. We have to wait till we have at least a month to kind of look at the overall trends. Okay, if I had no nights out and if it was all just tick box, I'd be pretty confident the weight would look pretty linear right now. There wouldn't be the kind of ups and downs. With the body weight tracker, it wouldn't be looking as off. You can see again with the body weight tracker, it's down and up. It's trending down, but it's down and up, right? So we have that big hike. But that big hike doesn't mean that I have more body fat than I had this time last week. People think that it's like, oh, you must have put on weight. It's like, but the weight in the scales has gone up, but I haven't put on body fat because I know my numbers and I trust my numbers. When you learn to trust your numbers, you can begin to stop being so emotional about everything and actually start to believe in what you're doing. It's like, well, I know I'm doing the right things, so therefore I just need to be patient. And I can guarantee you, I will see a new low weight probably this week or early next week. And before I know it, the trend will be gone down again. And then I'll look back and say, oh yeah, that was just an outlier weight because of many factors. And even if I wasn't on a night out, maybe it could have went up anyway. But the night out probably affected it, and the eating out and stuff like that as well. So there's something to know, guys, when it comes to fat loss. You need to be careful not to be caught up in the day-to-day readings. I'm going to show you a really crude kind of illustration that I made, and I showed my clients this today as well, right? Again, for those of you that are listening on the podcast, I'm just showing a chart here, basically weight loss versus fat loss, because a lot of people think it's the same thing. It's not, right? In the short term, weight loss and fat loss don't really look alike. So in this trend here, you can see the red here basically is weight loss, And the dotted blue line is fat loss, right? Now, this is all assuming that we're in a calorie deficit. So you're doing the right things and you know you're in a calorie deficit consistently over the week, okay? So what you'll see here is the weight loss is going down and up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down and up. So it's all over the place, the weight loss. And then the fat loss is linear. It's going down, 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 down. If you're in a deficit, the fat loss will be linear. Underneath the hood, with all the noise of the weight and all that, underneath the hood, you're losing body fat. Your body is changing, but it hasn't shown on the scales totally yet because we haven't had enough time, right? Now, the funny thing about this is, you'll see here on the first illustration on the red line, the weight after week 1 has gone way down, okay? And when that happens, people think, oh, that's my new low weight now. Great. This is where I'm at now, right? That's false as well, okay? Because that is a false low reading. Just like there's false high readings, there's also false low readings. So you can see on the first illustration here, the weight's way down, but the fat loss is actually way above it. So we haven't lost as much fat as the weight is shown on the scales. But then the next day, it's gone way back up. And you're like, oh no, I must have done something wrong because the weight's gone up again. But it's like, no, your body is just bodying, right? It's biological processes, your water retention. There's so much going on within the system: stress, water retention, bloating, food volume, constipation, dehydration, rehydration, menstrual cycle. There's so much going on there. That's nothing to do with fat loss. We don't care about weight. We care about fat. We want to lose fat. Okay, that's what's going to make us look better. Having extra water in the body is natural. It doesn't make us look worse. In fact, sometimes it can make us look better. So we don't want to worry about that, okay? But you will see over time though, okay, with the weight loss, it goes up and down and up and down and up and down. But if you're in a deficit, it will be trending down because it will have to show eventually, okay? And I always say this to my clients, and they kind of, it's a bit of a aha moment with them. The number that you're excited about this week will eventually become the number that pisses you off in a week's time or the week after. And that's a good sign. It's a sign that if you're hitting new low weights, then your old your old low weight will soon become the weight that pisses you off, right? So I hope you get that point. So it goes down, you're like, yes, hit a new low weight, great. But then it'll go back up, and then it'll go down to that weight again, and then maybe it'll go down a new one. You're like, great, new low weight. But then it'll go up to that old weight, and you're like, oh, fuck's sake, I want to keep going down. So you gotta keep trusting what you're doing, and eventually you will start to see the processes. So I hope that illustration helps you. And again, it's just a good visual to see what's actually happening with the weight. Okay, right. Just the last few things in this, guys, right? So with the weight, if you're someone that gets triggered with the weight, I would definitely recommend trying to keep things predictable, similar meals ish, even if it's for a few weeks, similar routine, similar times you're eating, similar times you go to bed, not changing drastically at the weekend, not always eating out, not always drinking. This is, again, if you're someone who is trying to see some quicker progress and you're someone that gets frustrated a lot with the weight. If you have a belief in your head that you can't lose weight, your body is broken or you're too old or because of hormones or whatever, right? Sometimes you just need a bit of stability and you need to see something happening. So you start to believe it. So having the best chance is by literally not putting yourself in situations where your weight's going to be all over the place. Like my weight this week would have been a lot more predictable if I didn't have the night out, if I didn't have the dinner out. If I had more consistent calories throughout the week instead of having a 4,000 calorie day and an 1,800 calorie day, my weight would have been more consistent. It would have been more like predictable. But I know it's going to work anyway, so I'm like, it's fine. It's going up and down. I'm not going to react to it. But if you're someone that does react to it, it might be worth pulling that back. Okay, so just last thing I'll show you guys. So I did this session for my group today, and I wanted to show you one part of it. Okay, basically I was teaching my group how to know their numbers, and I think it's a really important concept to know your numbers. Again, for anyone listening to the podcast, I'm just showing an illustration here of basically how you predict your maintenance calories, your weekly calories, your daily average, and then your target weight loss and stuff. Okay, so like I said at the start, right, we need to be in a 3,500 calorie deficit in order to lose 1 pound of body fat. Now you might think to yourself, that's an awful lot to lose 1 pound only, right? And the thing about it is, I'm actually going to quickly jump back to my week 1 of my progress. You see in week 1 of my progress, right? I started at 76.6 and I jumped down to 74.5. Okay, I worked out my calories and I was around 2,100 calories on average, just over 2,100 calories. And taking my maintenance to be 2,800. I was in a deficit probably of maybe 5,000 calories over the whole week last week. So that would equate to roughly about 1.5 pounds of fat loss. If you looked at my numbers, there was a 2 kg drop, which equates to being about 4.5 pounds. So I actually dropped 1.5 pounds, but it says 4.5 on the scales. So just like it happens the other way, it happens the inverse as well. I can get excited about the 4.5 pounds, but I actually only, if I know my numbers, so I only lost 1.5 pounds. Okay. But simultaneously, this week I didn't drop any weight in the scales, but I know I dropped a pound. So you might look at this week and say, oh, this week was worse than last week, but I would say not by much, even though it looks it. Okay. So again, knowing your numbers is key for this. So 3,500 calorie deficit means 1 pound of fat loss, not weight loss, fat loss. Okay. That means you need to be in a calorie deficit of 500 calories per day in order to lose 3,000 or to lose 1 pound. Okay. If you want to lose 1.5 pounds, you need to be in a deficit of like 5,250 or something over the whole week. Okay, so that's maybe, I don't know, 700 and something, 50 or something like that, I don't know, roughly per day. So what I got my clients to do basically this week for me is to just to know the numbers. Now I help them with this anyway, but I want them to do it themselves because I want them to learn beyond the program how they can do this as well. Okay, so we worked out our maintenance calories. Now, if you ever want to look at work out your maintenance calories, use the Harris and Benedict formula online. It's very easy. Throw in your data and it'll come up. For most females, you're going to be maintaining on around 1900 to 2100. For most males, you're probably going to be maintaining on 2600 to 2900, give or take. Again, depends on your size, depends on how much muscle you have, how active you are. There's so many factors, right? But generally, that's where we're going to be in. I, again, predicted my maintenance to be 2,800 calories per day, okay? So if it's 2,800 calories per day, that means I have a calorie budget over the week of 19,600. Now, I always like comparing weight to budget sometimes and finances sometimes because people can kind of, you know, they can relate to it and connect with it more. So if you had a budget per week of, I don't know, for let's just say 500 euro per week is your budget for everything, whatever, like just for ease of numbers, right? But you wanted to save some money as well. Then that means that in order to save some money, you would have to go under that number. Okay, you can't spend 500 if you're making 500 a week and that's your disposable income, whatever. You have to go under that number if you want to save, right? Same with calories. Okay, if you want to lose weight, you need to go under your budget. So your budget for the week basically is your maintenance calories per day multiplied by 7. So for me, it's 2,800 multiplied by 7, which is 19,600. That's my budget of calories for the week. If I want to lose body fat, I need to go under that number. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's every day, you know, or only some days, but I need to be under that number on average for the week. Okay, so what that might mean for me is, okay, if I want to lose a pound, then I need to go under it by 3,500 calories. Okay, so just like if you wanted to lose, if you want to save 100 euro a week, you need to go under your disposable income by or spend under that by 100 if you wanted to save 100. Okay, so basically what I'll do here is I'll take 3,500 calories away from my budget, which is 19,600, and that works out to be 16,100. So that's my new target. Okay, that's how much I can spend and still lose body fat. Okay, if you want to call it that. So you might say, okay, you got 16,100. If I wanted to work out that per day, I would just divide by 7. Okay, so that's 2,300 calories I need to eat per day, right, on average. So you can see, guys, with this, it's not about hitting the number exactly. Like if you get close enough, even if you're a little bit off, so even if I'm aiming for 2,300, but I get 2,500, I'm still in a deficit. I'm still saving, quote unquote, right? It just might not be as much as if I was in the 2,300 or 2,200. Okay, so you don't have to be perfect with this. You just need to be under your budget to move the needle forward, right? With that then, right, let's just say you want to work out your target loss. And I think this is a really interesting concept for people. Okay, so if you want to work out your target of weight loss, so let's just say you say, I want to lose a pound a week of body fat, all right, going forward. So all you need to do is multiply 3,500 by the amount of pounds you want to lose. So if you want to lose 1 pound, you multiply 3,500 by 1. So you need to be in a deficit of 3,500 over the week in order to lose 1 pound. If you want to lose 1.5 pounds a week, you multiply 3,500 by 1.5. Okay, so that's the deficit then you need to be in as well for the week in order to lose the fat. If you wanted to lose 2 pounds per week, you'd multiply 3,500 by 2. So that's 7,000 calorie deficit over the course of the week. So that'd be 1,000 calorie deficit a day. Okay, so that's quite a large deficit for some people. If you have a lot of weight to lose, it's feasible, but for most, I think a pound a week is realistic and it's sustainable. Okay, so just something to think about, guys. How you can then do it right if you want to. What I got my clients to do this week is like work out their strategy for the whole week. So if you wanted to fit in extra calories at the weekend, you might say, okay, so if I want to, let's say, stay at 2,300 calories for the week, I might say, okay, I'm going to go 2,100 calories Monday to Friday. That saves 200 calories a day. Then that gives me an extra 1,000 calories to play with the weekend. So I can put a 500 calorie each to each day. So that means I can be at maintenance for the weekend, 2,800 calories, and still be in a deficit for the week. You can do that. I would obviously just be careful not to take that too far because it becomes hard to try to track it, but also it just means you can easily overeat and undereat and overeat and undereat, and it creates like a yo-yo cycle. So I always recommend keeping it close enough, but you can play around with it some weeks. I won't need to do that this week too much, only for my game maybe. So I might do for my game, but because I have no social events coming up this week, I'm going to keep it pretty consistent and we're going to keep moving the needle. Pretty consistent works better. If you're hitting your calories on point for 7 days in a week, it's going to work better. But obviously you have to fit that into your lifestyle as well if you want to keep things moving. Okay, guys, I think that's all I have for you this week. I hope this has been useful as always, and I hope you're taking something from it. Let me know if anyone's any questions on any of it. Again, I'm going to be putting the YouTube video up today, so it'll be Tuesday when it's out, and I'll be putting the podcast up simultaneously as well. Next week, we're going to delve into just a few different things around the exercise side of it as well, because I know a lot of people get confused when it comes to, okay, well, how does exercise fit into this? If I do exercise, do I burn more calories? If I do weights, is that good for calorie burn? Is that good for fat loss? Is that good for toning? And how all does that all fit in, right? So I'm going to explain all that next week because that's such a big, again, topic of confusion for a lot of people, right? So hope this is helpful, guys. As always, just on YouTube, guys, it would be really helpful if you are watching these videos, please subscribe to the channel because it helps the algorithm and helps me get this video out here to more people. So like the video and just subscribe to the channel. That would be amazing. Again, on podcasts, same thing. If you are watching or listening continuously, please subscribe as a podcast subscriber as well. Guys, as always, thanks for all this and we'll chat to you soon.